whatever pretty colour your party's rosette is, I hope you soon realise they all just take the piss. They aren't here for you, and certainly not for me, but why they are is perfectly clear, to stay at the top of the tree. You may feel this is all seems quite abrupt, but then most politicians are simply quite corrupt. A leading politician decided to cross the road, then claimed 80 quid expenses for thieving fucking toad. I admit that that's a joke. It is, you see, I'm not a liar. 80 quid was just the start, the claim would be much higher. A day or so, it seems, in the working life of a lord is to fall asleep on a leather seat, the result of becoming bored. A day in the life of a common, or surely that's what they are, despite the fancy houses and the chauffeur-driven cars, is meant to be what they promised when they stood in a general election. But this is something hard to miss. They're masters of deflection. They all have their own agendas and continue them when they are able, while the promises they made to get your vote aren't even under the table. So this is the reason why anarchy is superior to this present. I'm not even distantly royal, but I'm still no fucking peasant. I believe in the people's autonomy, not this crippled, lopsided economy. There was once a great depression that wasn't so great, I'm sure, an era when nobody had any work that ended up in a war. But it's all just manipulation, a means to an end, or horses for courses. The workers were there, and the factories, and who'd have thunk it, the natural resources. So if you think my hat's made of tin and all this stuff is just in my head, do the maths, look at the facts, and carefully think about what I just said. There was once a Great Depression, it ended in a war, but the infrastructure to facilitate it were already there before. Whatever pretty colour your party's rosette is, now have you figured out they all just take piss? Homelessness, the poor, or people who just aren't healthy? Not really on the gender, because that won't keep them wealthy. All of my life I've watched our world get sold from under our feet. The owners now, the oligarchs and the political elite. Digging it up, knocking it down to overload a purse, destroying what once was beautiful, nothing could be worse. We live in an autocracy, although they call it a democracy, but everyone knows that's a filthy lie, maybe even hypocrisy. So instead of keep on asking for things that are already yours, demand the end of this status quo and change their fucking laws. Or do your things in spite of them, either will get you my applause. So, rouse a politician, wake it from its sleep. Say it's time to get a job and leave the leather seat.
And that is why we're all here, pretty much. Okay, so we're up base 2, Kent, at the Retreat Animal Sanctuary, with the Crops Not Shops crew. And Rocky here is going to be laying out what we're going to be doing next and what we need from you guys. Over to Rocky.
So, what we need to do is, we've already started growing in here. We need to put a fence all around the outside of the polytunnel to keep the chickens out for a start, and then we can grow fruit trees out there, which we'll need funding for. Fruit bushes, vegetables, hedging plants that have fruit in them, some of which I've already bought myself. That's outside. At the front is going to be solar panels. We'll want to have brassicas and lettuces underneath for solar panels because they like the shade. But I think also a bench out the front there because, you know, for some of us it's really hard to breathe at the best of times. So sitting down is quite good. See how lovely. Inside we're going to have 4 grapevines, 2 at one end and 2 at the other end, and they will grow up eventually and form the shade of the tunnel. We're going to have hessian running across the top to provide shade, and in between times we'll grow all sorts of squashes, cucumbers, melons up and over to again provide shade. We need a water supply for in here for one thing. And we need funding, of course, as always, but we also need bodies to come and do stuff.
Volunteers, that's right.
Eventually we'll have education going on here, we'll teach about the soil and sustainability, which I used to do as a job. So doing this as a pleasure, it's much nicer. I don't have to worry about my wage packet at the end of the week.
What sort of fruit trees and fruit bushes are you looking at?
Outside, I suggest we have at least 2 apple trees. Probably Laxton Superb, which is very much like Cox's, but tastes nicer. And I can't remember the name of it, Queen Elizabeth or something or other. There's a cooking apple that's really sweet, so you don't need any extra sugar when you make apple pie, for instance. And possibly a James Green, if we've got enough room for 3 apple trees. 2 pear trees, a Comis and a Conference. Conference are the long thin ones that everyone likes, and a Comis, the ones that sort of melt in your mouth when you bite into them. 2 cherry trees, an early Rivers, because they're the best cherries in the universe, but they're self-sterile, so they need a pollination plant. All the other trees are all self-fertile, so they're okay. But this early Rivers, it needs a pollination plant, so I suggest then Morello cherries, because
I like those.
everyone knows them. You can't eat them off the bush because they're disgusting, but that's what the early Rivers are for. And also probably Victoria plums, because everyone loves them, and yellow gauges, because they're gorgeous.
That's right, isn't it?
We're going to grow Eliagnus along the fence line, so that people can pick their fruit. 2 types of Eliagnus, a deciduous version, which I've already ordered, and they'll be at home in the next couple of days in small pots, which I'll be growing on until we're ready to put them outside here. And then we'll also get Eliagnus abingii, which is called silverberry, and it's the first free fruit of the year. It's ready to eat in April, which is before strawberries and everything.
That's fantastic. And that's the one that looks a bit like a date, or is it?
It's no, it's like the one that looks a bit like a. No, it looks more like it looks a bit like a grape, but elongated.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Yeah,
that sounds really good.
And the deciduous version, which is Eliagnus multiflora, they look like cherries and they're really tasty. And they're ready in about June. So before your cherries, they're out. Outside as well, I presume we'll have growing beds for all sorts of other vegetables. There's a lot of space out here that we can fill up.
We can grow under the solar panels as well, can't we, when we put the electricity in?
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll all once the fencing's up, that's the big thing. We need to put a door on the entrance here properly.
Yeah.
We can't do that until the biogas digester, which I always call the bomb, is in place, and then we'll have more space for growing then as well, because we can not just have this bed here, we can have a bed this side and just an aisle up the middle to get to it all.
Fantastic. So next steps now, we need volunteers for watering parties, we need people out here to help, chippies or people who want to do a bit of woodwork, build some doors.
We need to flatten all of that lot, spread it around, but all of that's all to come. We've still got more work to do on this plastic.
Fantastic. All right, plastic, fantastic. Well, it's in terms of the polytunnel. So there you go, guys. So
before you finish, hold on.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, this is all from a Benderskum that used to live near the 4th tree on the right, in some woods that were not very far, although at dark really night. No. Something like that. Somewhere just about here or there, deep in the woodlands without a care. But I've got a list of all of the potential plants we'll put in. Oh, here we go. Annie Elizabeth. I knew it was something to do with Queen Elizabeth. Annie Elizabeth is a really sweet cooking apple that doesn't need any sugar when you're cooking with it.
Fantastic.
Which is unusual. And I think that's about it. Ulin's gauge. The grapes are a Homburg, I think it is. It's a dark. Yeah, a black, sweet, thin-skinned.
Oh, they're the best.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So it's not for making wine; it's for just eating straight away. And the other one is a Lakemont, which is a golden yellow. Again, a sweet.
Fantastic.
Eating grape.
Good stuff.
And they'll all come from a local nursery, Victoriana Nurseries, which is in Challet, which isn't that far away from here. And I've used them since the 1980s. It's a family firm, which is what we want.
So local knowledge, organic.
And the people there, because they're so nice, I'm hoping they'll do us some favours, because they did when I've used them before in other polytunnel projects I've had in the past.
Fantastic. So there, local knowledge, organic, crops not shops. You know, no pesticides going on here, just volunteers gathering together and feeding ourselves.
We've got aubergines in, we've got squashes, we've got kale, we've got rainbow chard, boar coal, and celebrates, although I think the chickens ate most of the celebrates.
That's what we need the door for.
Yeah, that's why we
All
need
right.
the door.
So guys, come down to Ashford, the Retreat Animal Sanctuary. We need some volunteers down here. And let's set up this free food system at base
I'm going
2.
to try and aim to be here every Thursday at least.
Good stuff.
So if people do want to come down, I'll be here and they can talk to me.
Fantastic.
I don't know anything, you know, but I just pretend to.
He knows a lot, he knows a lot. So any volunteers looking to come down, Thursday's your day. If you're just coming down, expect to have a look around and talk to Rocky. Or get in touch on the Facebook group, Crops Not Shops. Thank you very much.